Hi, I'm Rashonda Kay. This is Reading with Rashonda. We are reading Running 1,000 Miles for Freedom by William and Ellen Craft. We are on part 1, video 8. The two have just started their escape, so let's dive in. The gentleman then turned the conversation upon the three great topics of discussion in first-class circles in Georgia, namely niggers, cotton, and abolitionists. My master had often heard of abolitionists, but in such a connection as to cause him to think that they were a fearful kind of wild animal. But he was highly delighted to learn from the gentleman's conversation that the abolitionists were persons who were opposed to oppression, and therefore, in his opinion, not the lowest, but the very highest of God's creatures. Without the slightest objection on my master's part, the gentleman left the carriage at Gordon for Milledgeville, the capital of the state. We arrived at Savannah early in the morning and got into an omnibus which stopped at the hotel for the passengers to take tea. I stepped into the house and brought my master something on a tray to the omnibus, which took us in due time to the steamer which was bound for Charleston, South Carolina. Soon after going on board, my master turned in, and as the captain and some of the passengers seemed to think this strange and also questioned me respecting him, my master thought I had better get out the flannels and Opodeldoc? Opodeldoc. It's Opodeldoc. Opodeldoc. Alright, my master thought I had better get out the flannels and opodeldoc, which we had prepared for the rheumatism, warm them quickly by the stove in the gentleman's saloon, and bring them to his berth. We did this as an excuse for my master's retiring to bed so early. While at the stove, one of the passengers said to me, "Buck, what have you got there?" "Opodeldoc, sir," I replied. "I should think it's Opodevil," said a lanky swell who was leaning back in a chair with his heels upon the back of another and chewing tobacco as if for a wager. "It stinks enough to kill or cure 20 men. Away with it, or I reckon I will throw it overboard." It was by this time warm enough, so I took it to my master's berth, remained there a little while, and then went on deck and asked the steward where I was to sleep. He said there was no place provided for colored passengers, whether slave or free. So I paced the deck till a late hour, then mounted some cotton bags in a warm place near the funnel, sat there till morning, and then went and assisted my master to get ready for breakfast. "Don't matter if you're slave or free. You're black. There's no place for you here." He was seated at the right hand of the captain, who, together with all the passengers, inquired very kindly after his health. Is he still deaf? I don't know. As my master had one hand in a sling, it was my duty to carve his food, but when I went out, the captain said, "You have a very attentive boy, sir, but you had better watch him like a hawk when you get on to the north. He seems all very well here, but he may act quite differently there. I know several gentlemen who have lost their valuable niggers among," got some language, "among them damned cutthroat abolitionists." It says D-D though. Before my master could speak, a rough slave dealer, who was sitting opposite with both elbows on the table and with a large piece of broiled fowl in his fingers, shook his head with emphasis and in a deep Yankee tone forced through his crowded mouth the words, "Sound doctrine, Captain, very sound." He then dropped the chicken onto the plate, leant back, placed his thumbs in the armholes of his fancy waistcoat, and continued, "I would not take a nigger to the north under no consideration. I have had to deal with niggers in my time, but I never saw one who ever had his heel upon free soil that was worth a damned. D-N. Now, stranger," addressing my master, "if you have made up your mind to sell that 'ere nigger, I am your man. Just mention your price, and if it isn't out of the way, I will pay for him on this board with hard silver dollars." This hard-featured, bristly-bearded, wire-headed, red-eyed monster staring at my master as the serpent did at Eve said, "What do you say, stranger?" He replied, "I don't wish to sell, sir. I cannot get on well without him." "You will have to get on without him if you take him to the north," continued this man, "for I can tell you, stranger, as a friend. I am an older cove than you. I have seen lots of this here world, and I reckon I have made more dealings with niggers than any man, living or dead. What is the hubris there? I have made more dealings with people than any person, living or dead. It is I. Oh. I was once employed by General Wade Hampton for 10 years in doing nothing but breaking 'em in, and everybody knows that the general would not have a man that didn't understand his business. So I tell you, stranger, again, you had better sell, and let me take 'em down to Orleans. He will do you no good if you take him across Mason's and Dixon's line. He is a keen nigger, and I can see from the cut of his eye that he is certain to run away. My master said, I think not, sir. I have great confidence in his fidelity. Fidevil, indignantly said the dealer as his fist came down upon the edge of the saucer and upset a cup of hot coffee in a gentleman's lap. As the scalded man jumped up, the trader quietly said, Don't disturb yourself, neighbor. Accidents will happen in the best of families. It always makes me mad to hear a man talking about fidelity and niggers. There isn't a damned one of 'em who wouldn't cut sticks if he had half a chance. By this time we were near Charleston. My master thanked the captain for his advice, and they all withdrew and went on deck, where the trader fancied he became quite eloquent. He drew a crowd around him and with emphasis said, Captain, if I was the president of these mighty United States of America, the greatest and freest country under the whole universe, I would never let no man, I don't care who he is, take a nigger into the North and bring him back here, filled to the brim as he is sure to be with damned abolition vices to taint all quiet niggers with the hellish spirit of running away. These air, Captain, my flat-footed everyday right up and down sentiments, and as this is a free country, Captain, I don't care who hears 'em, for I am a Southern man every inch on my backbone. Let's break this down, shall we? So this slave trader is upset that Ellen will not sell William to her. He clearly thinks, I have with sound logic presented my case to you. You must be ignorant to not agree with what I have to say. He gets loud and ugly, smashes a saucer, and then the person who got hot coffee on him, he was like, don't worry about it, accidents happen. Didn't say sorry. The privilege, like last time, is extraordinary. And so then he has a whole crowd and he's like, I'm going to give a speech. And he said if he was president of the United States of America, the greatest and freest country under the whole universe, I would never let. Let me say that one more time. If I was the president of this mighty United States of America, the greatest and freest country under the whole universe, I would never let. Who are you to let and not let if you were the president of this mighty United States of America, the greatest and freest country in the whole universe? If it is, in fact, the greatest and freest country in the whole universe, you should not have the power to let someone do or not do something in such a free society that is the greatest and freest under the whole universe. There would be laws governing where one person's right stops and another person's begins. But there wouldn't be a single person who could say, I wouldn't let nobody do this. That's not the role of the president. It was in this man's imagination. It is in a lot of people's imaginations currently, who expand the role of the president to mean something that it was never intended to mean. So this person talking about the great freedom in the U.S. says he wouldn't let. So that clearly says freedom only belongs to some people. He's one of the people that freedom belongs to. but not other people. So let's see who he doesn't believe freedom belongs to. I would never let no man, I don't care who he is, take a nigger into the north and bring him back here. So he is saying he doesn't think freedom applies to anybody who disagrees with what he thinks. If you don't agree with me, I'm not going to let you do this. If I was president of this mighty United States of America, the greatest and freest country under the whole universe. So freedom applies to him and to the people who think like him. That is nobody's freedom. That was the freedom that he upheld, and that is the freedom that many of us still uphold today. And then he closes his speech. I'm not trying to do this. These air, Captain, my flat-footed, everyday, right up and down sentiments. Sorry. And as this is a free country, Captain, I don't care who hears them. So it's a free country for him to speak as he wants, to act as he wants, to trample over people as he wants. And they are not free to do anything about it because the freedom is his, and it's his to determine, and it's his to use, and it's his to abuse. That is not freedom. And that's why we read this. All right, I'll keep going. Good, said an insignificant-looking individual of the slave dealer stamp. 3 cheers for John C. Calhoun and the whole fair sunny South, added the trader. So off went their hats, and out burst a terrific roar of irregular but continued cheering. My master took no more notice of the dealer. He merely said to the captain that the air on deck was too keen for him, and he would therefore return to the cabin. While the trader was in the zenith of his eloquence, he might as well have said, as one of his kit did at a great filibustering meeting, that when the great American eagle gets one of his mighty claws upon Canada and the other into South America, and his glorious and starry wings of liberty extending from the Atlantic to the Pacific, oh, then where will England be, ye gentlemen? I tell ye, she will only serve as a pocket handkerchief for Jonathan to wipe his nose with. Right. On my master entering the cabin, he found at the breakfast table a young Southern military officer with whom he had traveled some distance the previous day. You know what? Let's just stop here. Okay. We'll stop here for today and pick up next time. We are reading Running 1,000 Miles for Freedom by William and Ellen Craft. I'm Rashonda Kate. This is Reading with Rashonda.